Hey, this is Jake. We're going to do some blitz tactics, but I think instead of normally where I try to talk a bit while solving as many puzzles as I can, I'm going to instead talk not just about how to solve the positions, which is usually, as we've said, checks and captures, but also what might cue us in that a tactic would be available in this kind of position. So if we look at this first position on blitz tactics, we see we've got our queen lined up right against their king. We've got this knight that can move with discoveries. We've got this rook pressuring their king. So it's pretty clear we have attacking options. Knight h3 is very tempting because it is a discovered double check. And so they must move the king. And most of us have seen the pattern. So for me, this is just pattern recognition. If it's not pattern recognition, then, well, you'll get to see it here. But check, king moves, check. And now the king has no squares. We have a smothered mate. So here's one where we have this advanced knight. It doesn't look like they have too many loose pieces. The h5 knight's loose, but we don't have a way to target it. But we have this advanced knight, and it can in fact fork the king and queen. Here is just one where like this knight is loose. Can we take the knight? Looks like we can. They could play knight c6, forking bishop and queen, but our queen could come back and defend. Now we can just take. Now here, their king is very open, and we have this really strong rook on the 7th. So it looks like we can take this pawn, it's just hanging, and then play checkmate. One might think there's something with the rooks, but they are well defended by the other side. So again, looking at the advanced knight and seeing, we have a capture and a fork. Here, the thing that's hanging is the rook, but if we take the rook, they take our queen. So we should look at other options, but this rook is a little loose. I clicked it after clicking this pawn, so it thought I said pawn takes rook. In fact, bishop here pins the rook and we can take it. Now here their king is very open, it has no defenders, and there's the queen. Should we bring the queen? The question, should we bring the queen into attack or the rook into attack? Now, if we bring the rook into attack, that is my first instinct, because the rook is going to have trouble getting in, but the queen coming in limits where white's king can go a lot more. So I think on just general principles, even without having thought too much more about it, I was tempted to bring the queen in first. Now here again, we have a discovered check possibility set up. Taking the rook is a double check. And now, their king has very few squares. And because we control f5 with the bishop, we can play queen f7 checkmate. Now here, this knight looks loose. And I'd want to take it knight, but then the rook would hang. So instead I will take it rook, because then my knight will keep my rook defended. Now here, their king can be skewered on the back rank. I've got this good rook, I have a check, and then a capture. Now this rook f7 move gives their king very few squares, so my immediate temptation is how to attack it. And I don't really have any checks that don't lose material, but if I look one move further, I see this check, the king has no squares, so they must take, can be followed by checkmate. Because either piece going to h6, if they couldn't take it, was checkmate. Now I'm threatening to take their queen, but they'd have checkmate in response. So I can want to cover this checkmate, and I have this check. They have to move, and now I can take it, and checkmate is covered. Now, here I have these two attacking pieces. I can do a discovered check. The king is the worst defender, so it can't stay defending the knight. I take the knight, and now h6 checkmates. Okay, I'm probably not going to solve another one in time, but this one is takes, and now the queen can attack 3 undefended pieces, and they won't be able to save all of them. So okay, hopefully that was interesting. Now I'm going to try to go for a higher score. Would really like to break 40 or 50. So here, their back rank, we can force them to a square where we can fork. Here, I can take another piece before they take back. Here, I have an offbeat fork on c8. Here, I have a check before I recapture. Here, it looks like I can come to the back rank and checkmate with my bishop. I can take this rook instead of the rook on g5. This check lets me take here. I hate these because if you don't play the fastest mating sequence and get it off by a move, sometimes it punishes you. This is another tricky one, but this is checkmate. Tricky not in the sense that the position is hard, tricky in the sense that there are a lot of checkmating moves or moves that are very likely to lead to immediate checkmate. But if it is in fact a mate in 1 and you play a mate in 2, you will not get credit. Most of the time, I think Blitztactics does a nice job of giving you credit. when you make a move that's not best, but is still easily winning, which many tactics sites and options don't include. But I do think it has this one problem. The king has few squares. E5 because bishop takes f7 if they took. Back rank, delayed back rank, I guess. I can take their queen, but this is even better. Again, a slower mate. I had to notice that knight f7, rook f7, queen b8 was mate. But I could just take their queen there, and that looks super winning. Their knight has no squares. And so I am skeptical of problems like that, I think. And that one I was very worried I was going to get something wrong because it's just so easy to make a move it doesn't want you to make in that kind of position. And I can make a queen. Again, this is going to be one of those problems where, like, you want to find the fastest mate. See, it gave me an almost, which was kind. Oh, and this means there was mate in one, yeah. So just playing slower mates, this is a discovery. Those kind of problems, when you get a lot of them, you're going to drop points at some point unless you're very, very sharp. And they're kind of frustrating because you lose 30 seconds on them. I can insert this before taking back. It's queen. It feels like they have a lot of loose pieces, and I guess this is the way to take advantage. This is an in-between move. Queen b7, but their queen defends. Therefore, my cat is making noise. I'm not seeing it. Just knight c7, hitting the knight, because it was pinned. I really want bishop c7, and I think I can play it. Yep. Knight f6 discovery doesn't seem to work on the queen. Therefore, maybe knight d6. Bishop f7 is checkmate. Rook c3, and now the queen is only defended by the rook, which we can deflect. We can take on c3 and then b5. F5 looks very tempting, but I guess our rook's hanging. I gotta make a move fast. So what was the move here? Bishop c4, b3. So it's just got to be knight c6. I've just got to save the rook, I guess. Alright, got 36, but was faced with a bunch of ones I think are kind of tough. So let's try and break 40. The queen can't defend the rook and the knight. It's an overworked piece. You can trade everything and promote a pawn. This is a fork. It's checkmate. Fork. I guess come behind the king. It doesn't want that. Maybe h3. They can't give up the queen because my queen takes back. Their king has very few squares. This knight's really good. I should try to speed up a little. So I could take the queen immediately, but check first. I take the queen for free. Now I have a fork. My cat has a problem. One sec. Alright, losing critical time, but I believe we have queen b4 check. I can take this. I can just make a queen. Takes and fork. Fork, and my rook can get back. There aren't many checks or captures, which of course makes it more difficult, but I guess this is a capture followed by another. So there were enough. This bishop's loose, so I'm going to take the knight, and then this knight hits their queen as well. I can get out. Queen trap. I want to get the rook out of danger, they can't approach it, and then I can take their rook. This is mate. Bishop e2 deflects their queen. I think knight e2. Knight f1 is easy to make, but knight e2 cuts off the king's escapes. I think rook takes, because I get a lot of material for the queen. Knight f3. I only noticed that king h1, rook h2 is mate, but this is also mate, luckily. Rook g3, idea if they took queen h1. Queen e4. I'm supposed to take queen? Wait, what? Oh, rook h2. Because if king takes queen h4 and if this... Alright, well that lost me a full minute, so we are no longer... dc3, they have queen takes and then bishop takes e5, so I have to take here first. But I had already blown this session, so let's pretend I missed that because I had already given up, even though, no, I just completely missed it. Probably rook f7, knight e6 opens on the queen. No, because their king's still defending it. Or the queen could take. Huh. I think knight h3 looks very strong. Queen d2, rook d2, I'm up a piece. And if queen h3, queen g5 check, king h8, rook f4, probably wins their queen. That's my guess. Alright, we gotta break 40 though. This is not acceptable. That is a very awkwardly placed king. That's another fork. Yeah. And that takes away the queen's defender. Should be able to come around behind. f4, I guess, is mate in 1. So easy to play h4 there and play like a mate in 2 and, you know, not get it. This looks like mate. So if I take, my queen's undefended, but if I take here first, oh, I'm in check. So I guess I just sidestep. No? Oh, I can take with this rook. Oh no. Well, that ruins it. So I'm going to reload and try again, because that seems pretty hopeless to get the score I want, or at least an unnecessary handicap to have started that poorly. Ah, and I just assumed they would go somewhere else. Alright, we're going to do one more restart. We're going to do well this time. Checkmate. The bishop's not going to be able to be defended. Bishop h7 grabs the queen. Queen h5 and knight g6 anyway, even though they didn't block. Knight b5 hits d4 and a7. Is there better? I don't see it. Alright. Rook c7 hits d7 and b7. And knight e7 is a fork. I can play knight takes d4. ed4 loses my queen, but this one works. Queen f7 check looks good. Is there better? I don't see it. Queen h2, h1 to h5, and now I can take on g5. Their back rank is loose. Queen b1, we trade queens, but it's with check, so I get the bishop. Discovery. Ooh, gotta find the right checkmate, I think. Start, yeah, queen e3 and then rook h1. Should have seen that quicker. b4 is mate. If I take that, I can then make a discovery. Sorry about the screen wobbling there. Knight d5 is a pin and a fork. Rook f7. I think we've done this one before on stream. This problem, because it took me a sec last time. This looks like a useful discovery. Drive away the defender of e7, and I'm lucky the bishop's on d7. We're going to have, no, bishop a6 first. Rook h6 removes the defender of f7. Bishop e5 looks hard to meet, yeah. Alright, save the knight. E5 is a fork. Okay, I get some compensation, but not enough. Queen takes b1, weak back rank. I assume I can take on d4, and then g5? Okay. That looked a little scary. Bishop f2 deflects the king. The king is the weakest defender, as any check can drive it away. If the king is the only defender of something, that is a huge cue to... I think I'll take on d5 first. Nope. No. Oh no. Well, this ruined everything. What else is there to do? I tried pawn takes, and I tried knight d5. Oh, queen takes. Ah, and that's made. Yeah, or win the queen. Oh no. Well, that's another minute gone. Alright, this removes the thing pinning my pawn. Can I take on f3? I think so. Queen c5 looks good, yeah, because their king has very few squares. Queen g7 is a cute mate. Alright, if I go fast, which I've just slowed down on, but... knight e7. Right, be accurate and quick, and we can save this. No. What should I have done? Rook e6? Rook e6, because if rook takes, queen f1, and if queen takes, they lose their queen. Alright, one more try. Gotta break 40. I can take this, and then bring the queen in. I can just take that, and this is checkmate. Check with the queen first, then bring the rook. That f7 square is weak, so I think knight e5. Break queen g8, and then queen takes f7. Bishop h7, because my queen's on f8, and it only has the king as a defender. Again, the king is the worst defender. And anytime it is the only defender, we should really think this is the time to strike. This is an opportunity for a tactic. Which is what I was trying to talk about at the start of the video, is when are there hints that a tactic should be there? Because it's a lot easier in this format when you know there's a tactic there. There has to be a shot. You've been told there's a shot, and you just have to find it. Rather than in a real game where you have to think, what's going on? Am I looking to do something strategic here? Does this trap the bishop? I guess this hits their queen. Can I get out? Yeah, there's no mate. I'll just take that. I think we did this one earlier. Again, I think repeated problems is not a problem. I know on Puzzle Rush a lot of the high scores were set by people who clearly weren't the best puzzle rushers, but just had every problem memorized. I can take the rook. That's a shame. But I do think seeing problems repeatedly is really good for you. Just making it just become automatic. This pattern, I do that. This pattern, I do that. And if that becomes automatic, that seems to me just an obviously good thing for your chess. You want as many patterns as possible to be automatic. Okay, b5 removes the pin because the bishop was loose. Rook takes, and then this is a discovery. Rook d1, can they stop rook g8? Nope, they can't. They can give up things in an annoying way, where if I had tried to move quickly, I might have been punished. Knight d5 is a fork. Nope, that. Genius. Way to lose a queen. Maybe knight c4 and rook d1. Yeah, achieves what I wanted, but maybe knight c6 because I open up on g7. And I threaten knight e7 and they can't take because of mate. Oh, no. I blew it. Queen c8, of course. Ooh, alright. So did not get a particularly good score today, but I hope this was interesting.